Now, here's what Rick says. Winn-Dixie, a southern food chain, is laying off 10,000 employees, selling stores and closing stores. This is just one example of the recovering economy. It sounds good coming from the powers be, but it isn't worth the newsprint it's printed on. Our recovery is in a downward spiral and still going down. Absolutely, Rick, and I got to tell you something. If you're hearing that, you're not hearing it from me. I stand on my record. I would never say that, and I don't believe that. Okay, listen to this. Tom says, I was just on Drudge Report, Steve, and I saw the following headline at the top of the page. Israeli troops take up position around Arafat's office developing. There's nothing else in the story at the Drudge Report website at this time, but it might bear watching. Something's going on. Wonder if it has any connection to that mother and 4 kids who were killed a few days ago. Absolutely. And it also has everything to do with the fact that Ariel Sharon was defeated by his own Likud party almost, not quite 2-1, but 1 3/4 to 1. So I would say this. I think the continual week that lies ahead is going to be very precarious. My guess is if they whack Arafat, and by the way, ask yourself this. Who kept Arafat from being whacked all these years? When you answer that, you'll find out who controls the secret government. Oh, brother. Spetsnaz is spelled S-P-E-T-S-N-A-S-Z. Spetsnaz. Let's see. This is somebody volunteering. Thank you, William, to help. Let's see. Hey, Steve, great observation about the strong woman portrayal by Hollywood. Do you think Hollywood is getting the sheeple ready for a female president, i.e. Hillary? Well, I don't know about that, but the National Choir is showing her supposed lesbian love-in and lover, so I think it's all connected. You know, it's fascinating to me because I maintain that if we're to have a parallel equal to Elijah's day, then we've got to have a she-devil equal to Jezebel, and I think we're to the point where we're going to get one. Recovering economy. Okay, listen to this. Thank you, Rick. This is the Rick from Seattle. He said, thank you. I just want to know I wasn't crazy. I've been listening to you for many months. Never heard you say the economy was recovering. It's been pretty clear to me that your position has been quite the opposite. Amen. I mean, I got to tell you something. If I have, then I've got to get off the air because. And please, that's not a threat, okay? But I know what I say. Thanks, Steve. Steve, in the many years I've listened to you, you have never said the economy is or will be recovering. So again, Rick, I think you're hearing something that's not coming from me. You might be putting in your own thoughts or trying to figure out what I'm saying, but I try and make it clear. Okay, Bob. Thank you, Bob, in Arizona. He says, Steve, I believe this was a propaganda film and nothing else. I think they're getting us ready or gearing us up for disaster. You can't make it without big government. Yes, they wouldn't tell us the truth. The disaster could be forecast. They don't tell us the truth now. Well, I got news for you. I agree with that, but if it's a propaganda film, I got news. FEMA's toast because they made the FEMA guy seem like a real wimp. Okay. Israel may, this is coming from another link here, Israel may expel Arafat to Gaza, sources say. So they may be getting ready to expel him. Listen to this. Israel may expel Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat, who has been besieged in the West Bank city of Ramallah, to Gaza within the coming few days, official Palestinian sources revealed. They said there were dozens of Israeli army commandos staying on the roofs of the buildings surrounding Arafat's office. The Israeli commandos could break into Arafat's headquarters within the coming hours or days in order to transfer Arafat in an Israeli helicopter to the Gaza Strip, they said. The sources expected the Israeli units might carry out a military attack that could endanger Arafat's life within the coming few days, especially since Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon announced recently that Arafat is no longer immune. They added that the Palestinian Foreign Minister Nabil Shaf has made a series of contacts with his Arab international counterparts in order to brief them on this expected Israeli procedure. An Israeli spokesman declined to comment on the Israeli military deployment around Arafat's headquarters, but said these units might work on arresting Palestinians wanted by the Israelis. I doubt it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to skip the messages tonight and go right into water storage. Now, let me tell you this. I believe, and again, I have said this for 10 years, so this is nothing new. I believe the greatest movement of people in the United States will not be driven by economics or even by war, but by the search for water. Lake Powell's down 60%. You can go to my website. We've got links to the different stories. Not only is Lake Powell down, but a lot of places around the country are experiencing levels of rainfall that don't exist, actually non-existent rainfall. I've got to share with you we've posted on our website on Photo of the Day 2 or Photo of the Day 1 a picture of the East Coast with all the chemtrails over it. And you can go on the NASA website that's linked to it, and you can see the fact that they're saying that the contrails are causing drought. No, it's not the contrails, it's the chemtrails. The stuff that they're spraying in the upper atmosphere is literally sucking the moisture out of the air. And it doesn't matter who's directing it through what waveform or what electromagnetic frequency, we are getting set up for the greatest disaster, and it's not a stupid movie on the networks. It's going to be the real thing. I can tell you this, that one of the judgments on Las Vegas is going to be the whole town. I don't know when it's going to sink, but when you understand how many people have moved into Las Vegas proper and how much fresh water is being used up, and parts of Phoenix are in the same, what would you say, they have the same issues to deal with, that as the water is used up on the aquifers, literally you have this empty space, and where the water provided hydrostatic pressure against the earth to keep it from caving in, that's no longer available. I also can tell you this, there are parts of Florida that will experience that also. So the question is, what, and I don't know, this is rhetorical, okay, what level of earthquake would be required in the Nevada desert to basically start the buildings to be sucked up by, or sucked into the ground, or basically crash into the ground, if you will, or I don't know the correct word, but the point, swallowed up, I guess would be a better word. The thing that you've got to understand is water is disappearing. Now, I can tell you there are going to be water wars. Even the United Nations has done that. But if you look at the United States, a lot of the areas with the greatest amount of freshwater sources are UN biosphere preserves. That's what they really did with Yellowstone. In case you don't know this, again, Montana is the start of the Missouri River. We've got 3 rivers that form at Three Forks, Montana, that form the Missouri. That's what Lewis and Clark traveled up. Okay, now let me put to rest some myths about water. I don't care what the scientists say when they say we need a minimum of 1 pint per day to live for more than 4 or 5 days. We perspire, and our respiration and perspiration uses up about 2.5 pints. I can tell you this, that you need at least 2 gallons per person per day for drinking, cooking, and partial bathing. Now, I can tell you this, in water, more is better. And we're going to talk about some of the best methods of water storage. And look, again, this is, for all you that already know this, I understand you know this, but I have so many new listeners. I mean, we've added literally a lot of new listeners over the last years, and quite candidly, many people are saying, help, what do we do to get started? Water is first, water is foremost. So let me tell you this, that you can go with 2 gallons a day, but I recommend you double that. And there are some deals that you can be had. The best way to water ration is to basically get those quart bottles of water that you can get cheap, and sometimes they have specials on them for 70 cents, or fill your own bottles with water. And I would recommend you fill your bottles with filtered water, and we'll talk about adding the bleach or the iodine in a minute. So here's the deal. A minimum of 2, my recommendation is 4 gallons of water. Again, that allows you to do a sponge bath. And let me share this, and I don't mean to sound gross, but sanitation is everything. And if you've got enough water stored and you live on a septic tank and even the power goes down, if you can fill your gravity-fed toilet with water, and on some of them the low-volume toilets take about 2.5 gallons in the back of the tank to flush, then you've got it. And I would say this for the gentlemen, because it's easier for you, when the call of nature calls, head outside. I know that a lot of people say, is he saying to tinkle in the woods? No, I'm saying that conserve water and, basically tinkle where, it's proper. But, again, don't waste precious water. Again, we men have certain advantages over the women, and it's easier for us to head behind a tree. So, again, conserve all the water you can. And this is something you need to know, that we've got to get real. Now, there are multiple containers for water storage. 5-gallon buckets are wonderful. You can get 30 and 55-gallon plastic drums, and you need to have the ones that have a DOT, Department of Transportation approval. And you can use smaller containers. You can use empty glass jugs, but the glass may break during an earthquake, but the glass is a lot, how do I say this? It's a lot more physiologically fit to store water in glass because plastic has xenoestrogens in it. So if you're putting plastic liners in trash, cans to store water, you still have the, if you will, the micro porosity of the plastic and the plasticizers, which are xenoestrogens. So you've got to understand that. You can also use empty Clorox bottles. We'll get to how much Clorox you can use. And you can use plastic soda bottles or plastic water bottles, the heavier ones. Now, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that don't have water purifiers, at this point I would say this. Make a note. A water purifier, there are two types. There is a stationary, like the Big Berkey, which we sell. Great for gravity flow. That means you fill the top container, and through the filtration's suction mechanism, you get pure water in the bottom container. For those of you that are going to be running for your lives, and I'd say a lot of people listening to this broadcast are going to be moving, then you're going to need something that's a portable water purifier. Katadyn, K-A-T-A-D-Y-N, bought out Pure, P-U-R. PUR made the Pure Explorer. They made the Scout and the Ranger. Every year when Backpacker Magazine checks water purifiers, these are hand-pumped units. You have one end that goes into your water source, and the other end that goes into your canteen or your holding bladder. Every single year since they started doing it, the Pure Explorer was the one that topped out best. Now, you can purify water by one of two methods. You can boil it for 10 minutes, and you can add 12 drops of iodine per gallon, but you've got to mix and let it stand for 30 minutes. And by the way, some people have iodine sensitivity, and there are certain people that should not be taking iodine. Again, if you have an allergy to iodine, I would recommend that you can basically add a half to a tablespoon of household bleach, such as Clorox, to each 5-gallon bucket. Now, again, ladies and gentlemen, it's not a big deal if you end up putting a tablespoon and a half. More will not hurt you. The other thing is that I think you need to understand that, again, it may be more convenient to have your purified water, and if you bottle it. Now, I stated something that I didn't finish my thought. In order to ration, in order to make sure people are drinking, if you make them drink at least 1 quart of water, 2 quarts of water a day, that's a great way to ration, because then you divide the amount of people, and everybody's responsible for their own water. What that does is it basically causes what I would call shelter responsibility or personal accountability. You don't have someone chipping away at the communal tank. Again, what you've got to understand is everybody has to carry their own weight in a survival situation. I don't mean their own backpack, because good night, it's impossible to carry a pack. Even the guys that go around the world on the great treks and stuff, all they can tell you is that they live a pretty Spartan existence. We're going to talk about caching, or what some people call a cache, tomorrow. But in the meantime, let's talk about some of the things that we can do in water. Now, let me share this with you. Obviously, in a house, you've got the obvious places of water are in your hot water tank, in your toilets behind, in the top tank. Obviously, you don't want to drink the water out of the toilet bowl. But the point is that in even all the pipes, you probably might come up, if you're smart and know how to go to the lowest point in your water system, you might come up with somewhere around 75 to 100 gallons of water, which is important. Upon the first indication that trouble is brewing and things are starting to go down, and we'll talk about those two, what should you watch for? Fill up your bathtubs, okay? And then one of the things you can do when you fill up your bathtubs, and I recommend this. I recommend everybody scrub your bathtubs out. Those of you that have them, don't use them. A lot of people use showers. Scrub your bathtubs out with Clorox, okay? At the first sign of trouble, fill the bathtubs if you have a singular one or dual with water. The other thing you can do in the summer, and for those of you that haven't, go to Costco or any place that you can go to, whatever company you can go to, or store, and get one of those swimming pools. You know, for $50 or $100, you can get some of the better grade swimming pools, and sometimes they'll carry anywhere from 500 to 1,000 gallons. Now, let me share this with you. Water is going to be becoming so important. If you're going to use your pool water or your swimming pool, I'm talking about an above-ground pool, the kind you erect, cover it. Make sure you get a covering. With the chemtrails being sprayed and everything, you absolutely want to have your water sources covered. For those of you that think organic gardening is real anymore, I can tell you this, the best thing you could do is build a greenhouse and have it ventilated, but make sure that you have furnace filters on the intake side to get some of this stuff out, because again, I'm laughing because I know so many people, and I try and eat that way, believe it or not, organic, and yet we're getting barium and ethylene dibromide and all the parasites and all the gross things that they're putting in the spray, all the chemicals, all the genetic binders. So again, you want to cover your pool. I can tell you there's no cheaper way to buy water storage than buying an above ground one of those pools. Now obviously you can't use it in the winter, but be advised it's a great source of water storage. And again, if you were cut off from all power and you were on a septic tank or a sewer and you have a couple thousand gallons, let's say you flush your toilet 4 times a day, 2.5 gallons, that's 10 days. If you had to do that for a year, it would take you, what, 3,650 gallons? So depending on the size of the above-ground pool, you can pretty much determine how much storage you're going to need. Listen, I used to say this, and those of you who have been with me on this radio program for a lot of years, I said you're going to be drinking water that you normally would either walk through or drive through. And in the event of an emergency, without properly stored water, you're going to have to look at puddle streams, etc. And you're going to have to run the water through some form of purifier. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to need a mechanical purifier. Basically, you can do that, and this is where activated silver comes in. The best filter substrates, in other words, the best filter and medium, can be activated charcoal and silver. Silver operates as a biocide. But again, the point is you've got to make sure that you have a workable water filter. And I say this, get a big Berkey for your house, get a portable Pure Explorer for your car. Now, here's something that most people don't recognize. Whatever you think, if you think you could be away from home for up to, you put the numbers in, make sure you have that much water. I have a friend named Dave in Northern California, and he takes this water thing seriously. I think he's always got at least 24 quarts of water, the 6 gallons, you know, in the case in his car. He always has it. And if you're going to be traveling, make sure you have water. Look, you don't know that you pull into a gas station and their power's off, let's say, and, you know, you want water, and let's say everybody's already bought all the water in their coolers. It doesn't hurt to have your own water. I got to tell you something, wherever you go, for those of you that even go to work in different places, make sure you got water there. What do you think? Somebody's going to be kind and just not grab the cooler bottle if things get nasty? And for those of you that have private offices, make sure you got plenty of water in your offices. Again, these are, how do I say this? These are very critical issues that you have to deal with. And again, you can get Clorox. Now, Clorox is the best decontaminating solution there is. You can mix it 1-to-1 for biologicals and get one of those little sprayers. See, one of the things that most people don't understand is decontamination in either a chemical or a biological environment. You're going to have a way of spraying the people who are in suits that are outside, or you're going to have to decontaminate. Now, again, here's the deal. Most people listening to me know that I've been pushing people to get decontamination suits, i.e. chem suits. You can get them so cheap now. You can call us. I think I have 100 or so left, really cheap, $20 or something. And the deal is that when someone is contaminated, you have to decontaminate them outside the shelter area. So that means you have to have a decontamination setup, and so that's going to take water. Those little hand spray units that you pressurize, you put weed killer in, those are perfect. You know, obviously if you've got power in a generator, you can use a high pressure system better. But ladies and gentlemen, all this stuff is going to take water. And again, you've got to understand that water is essential. Now, specific canned goods are packed in water or juices, and those all help. You know, I think most vegetables, correct me if I'm wrong, are canned with water. Ice in the refrigerator freezer. Here's something that I would share with you too. Every now and then, Costco runs specials on those big, what I call fisherman coolers. You know, they're big white ones. If you have stuff in the fridge and your power goes out, you can make sure you have ice. You can put your stuff that would be spoiling, like, and I don't drink milk, but anything that you keep in a fridge, like your vegetables and your fruits and different things, juices, etc., put those into a large cooler and then dump the ice on top of it. You can also buy dry ice, and you can keep the dry ice in your regular freezer until the power goes out, and then you can add the dry ice to your cooler. Now, these are temporary measures, okay? This is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about an emergency situation. For those of you that are going to stay in your homes, that's what we've got to do. We've got to get you set, because a lot of you are elderly, a lot of you may be handicapped. So, again, now, here's my prayer, and this is something I'm serious about. I don't know how, but by the grace of God, I am literally believing that God is going to lead people to people. I have quite a few blind people that listen to me. I have a lot of people that are in wheelchairs. I have a lot of people that are older. They cannot flee. So what we have to do is believe that somehow they're going to get the necessary support and equipment. Look, you can do this cheap. That's one of the things too. The most important survival asset you own is your brain. One of my listeners who's got it sent me a thing. He said, Steve, remember, you can carry more in your head than you can on your back. Well said, well put. So again, we've got to realize that we not only have to, think different, we have to think smarter. So we talked about canned goods. We talked about swimming pools, different sizes being a good source of water. We talked about how you have to have a way of filtering water. Again, I stand by my statement. You cannot afford to get Giardia. If any of you have had Giardia, I have, that will literally kick the snot out of you. It makes Montezuma's Revenge look like a day in the park, and some of the different amoebic dysenteries and stuff can be deadly. So here's the point, and I got to make this clear. You do not drink any water you do not filter. And that goes for even municipal water supplies. I caught so much hell, or as they say in North Carolina, hail, over that statement a number of years ago. I had like all this hate mail from some pompous ass who was in some water treatment saying our water is fit. And so I sent him back an email and talked to him on the air. I said, have you checked for these chemicals? Have you checked for this, this, and this? Well, no, we don't have tests for those. I said, I rest my case, and you're an ass. That may sound really unkind, but that's the case. Look, excreted pharmaceuticals, big story covered up. In other words, all the people on Prozac and birth control pills and every other high blood pressure medication, every medication that people are being medicated for goes into the sewers. That runs into the lakes. The lakes water or the river water is then taken back in, and quite candidly, there's no, unless they know how to screen for it, they don't know how to filter for it. The filters that I'm talking about will filter that stuff out. So remember this, you don't want to be drinking someone else's waste material, and that's why you've got to become realistic in this. For those of you that are going to be traveling, I don't have the time to go into wilderness water skills, but one of the things you can always get by with is a solar still, or you can get by with a bunch of baggies, like Ziploc bags, and some way of attaching them to leaf branches. During the night, the moisture will cause the heat, the difference in condensation between the hot air and the cold air will cause the leaves to shed water, and you can literally trap water in the baggies, and you don't get a lot this way, but you can get enough to subsist on. It's a subsistence situation, and again, that's beyond the scope of tonight's show to go into wilderness survival skills, but a solar still is great. Now let me talk about desalinization. A lot of you live on coasts, you've got a lot of what's called saline seep, and the only way I know to deal with that at this point is to do it through, if you want to do it with a mechanical device, solar distillation, you've got to use what's called the pure, oh, good night, it's, I just thought of it, I apologize, pure or Catadine now makes a handheld desalinization device that they put in life rafts, and it's called a Survivor 35 or a Pure Explorer, or a Survivor 6 and a 35. The Survivor 35 is a hand pump unit, and you can get about a gallon an hour. Believe me, you will get your calisthenics and workout pumping that. They also make one that you can run off of a 12-volt motorcycle battery, which is probably more functional. So for those of you that live on coasts or live in sailboats, I have, by the way, quite a few listeners that have already headed out to sea. I'm not kidding you. They've left the United States. I'm not making that up. And I hope you guys have desalinators. The Survivor 35, go on Catadine, Katadyn.com, and check it out. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I used to be the largest seller of those. I no longer sell them anymore just because I'm out of that kind of business. But the point that I'm trying to get across to you tonight is this. Again, if we've got another day, another week, or another month of no major upheaval, those are all gifts of the living God. Every day is a gift, every moment, every second to prepare. I've told you about Noah. I can't imagine the ridicule he took for as long as he took it. Most of us don't do well with ridicule. Noah had to take it for, what, 120 years? So, ladies and gentlemen, again, remember this. Don't try and get someone else to justify your actions for you. Knowing the time, the event, and that which is taking place, let that be your motivation to get as prepared as you can, as quickly as you can. And again, ladies and gentlemen, it's amazing to me that, quite candidly, most people are wasting their time and they're not redeeming the time. And this is really, really important. Here's what Gary says. What's the best non-electric filter? The Berkey's is great for being what I would call stationary filter, Gary, but the Pure, P-U-R, Explorer, you can get them at backpacking stores. That's the best. That's what Backpacker Magazine rates it on. Let me go here. Water Run Fields. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'll carry on with this. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get carried away. And so thank you all for your understanding. Again, tomorrow I'm going to deal with caches, and that means prepositioning stuff for those of you who are going to flee. I'm trying to balance it all out, but quite candidly, there's not enough time, and we'll go as we can for as long as we can. Good night, everyone. God bless you.